Welcome back. Bank fraud, tax fraud, conspiracy. These are the charges against former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort, who's on trial in the nation's capital. Manafort has been thrown completely under the bus by his former business partner and fellow Trump campaign advisor, Rick Gates, who confirmed the government's claim that Manafort hid close to $17 million from the IRS and provided false information to banks to help secure loans. While the defense has yet to present its case, the larger question is whether any of this alleged criminality will rub off on the president's image. Jessica, what do you think?
No.
Okay.
That's a short answer.
Why?
Oh, stop with the follow-up. You know, look, this began to try to, again, find collusion with Russia, and clearly that doesn't exist here. And so that's what this Manafort thing started with all about. These are his problems. This doesn't have to do with the president.
Okay.
Way to go, Jessica. Okay. So this has everything to do with what's happening around the president. We don't know if it's going to go to the nucleus, which is the president, but it's closing in rather tightly, and I think that Rick Gates is the man of the month. I think that he decided, if Mueller asked him one question or if any prosecutor said one thing, he said, you know, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. I'm going to tell you what you didn't know. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you on everybody else. And I think that now Mueller is getting a bigger picture of just exactly how corrupt Manafort was. And possibly, when you have all the president's men surrounding him, and they've got all these frauds, they're the kings of fraud. So maybe Donald Trump might be the prince of the fraud.
Gates just saw that zero taken off his sentence recommendation. That's what I think is motivating.
Oh, absolutely. It motivates
Bob Price.
Well, first off, I want to remind people that the actions had nothing to do with Donald Trump. These all happened before the president hired him. Why somebody who was allegedly doing all of these things would elevate themselves to a high-profile position of being campaign manager for a controversial presidential candidate is beyond me. But he did that, and the president found out pretty quickly what this guy was about and got rid of him, as he should have. And so I don't see how this affects the president's ratings at all.
But
the people that hate the president are going to continue to hate the president.
I agree with a lot of that. But Gates was in the campaign much longer. He went all the way through even into the transition, and that I think is the significance here. I mean, you watch this, you look at this testimony, if you just want to go take a shower after, I mean, it's just awful, the stuff in the case. But whether or not any of that ties back to Trump or not is yet to be seen. But Gates was around for a long time, and this is clearly a play to try to get Gates' testimony about what took place later in the campaign. Whether he's got anything or not, we'll find out.
Okay, got to move to the next topic. Sorry. Elsewhere, New York Republican Congressman Chris Collins has been charged with participating in an insider trading scheme involving a pharmaceutical firm for which he served as a board member. While Collins has declared his innocence, the budding scandal has a Texas connection. Turns out Houston Congressman John Culberson was among several House Republicans who purchased shares in the company. Culberson dumped his investment at a 65% loss 10 days before the shares completely cratered. While Culberson is not under investigation, his Democratic opponent says voters should pay close attention to the transaction.
I think Congressman Culberson should tell us what he knew, what information he had when he bought the shares and when he sold the shares. I think we're entitled to know that. I think what I've heard since I've been on this campaign is that people are concerned about the culture in Washington, the things that are going on in Washington, and whether our representatives are really looking out for our best interests there. That is a question that this situation addresses squarely. And I think that voters need to know and have a right to know whether he's looking out for our interests or his own in Washington.
Okay, could this hurt Culberson in what is expected to be a closely contested election? I'm going back to Bill King.
Well, first of all, Collins is guilty as he can possibly be. I mean, you read the indictment, it is a classic inside trading. I looked at the timing on John's trades, and I don't see an inside trading case against him. I assume that this guy told Culberson it was a good stock to buy, and that's why he bought it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not inside trading. That's what directors do with companies all the time. Culberson sold his stock about 10 days before the test came out that sunk the stock. I mean, my sense is that John bought this on a tip from a friend, decided it wasn't working out, and sold it before it absolutely collapsed, but he still lost a bunch of money. That's not an insider trading case.
Bob, you think there's any traction in this for the Dems?
Well, I think it's certainly a great opportunity for the opposing candidate to pick up a baseball bat and try to swing it. Now, whether it connects and lays any groundwork or hits any singles or doubles is yet to be seen. I think the interesting thing that happened this week in terms of congressional races is the fact that the races that happened nationally this month, last week, showed that the far left side of the Democrat Party is being negated. It's going to take a more centrist type position to get elected, and this candidate here in Houston is a far left type candidate, so I don't think she stands much of a chance.
I want to get Tony and Craig in here. Go ahead.
So GOP corruption is centrist? Is that what we're talking about now? Like all these money scandals.
Yeah.
So here you have a presidential tax scam that gives some families $1,000, and you got all these corrupt GOP Republican officials ripping us off by taking advantage of the knowledge they have insider information of, or worse, chemical policies that help them only. Paxton's dirty, Manafort's dirty, go down the list. Gates is dirty, they're flipping on each other. Didn't Trump say that he was going to clean out the swamp? He's just made the swamp even bigger and deeper, and he built a Mar-a-Lago in the middle of it right now. So that's your new Republican Party, dirty as ever. They're all dirty.
Craig Jackson, I know you're a little less partisan than that. Any thoughts on either the Collins-Culberson case or Manafort?
Well, the Manafort case, I mean, my question is does anyone do any vetting in the
No.
in the
No,
Trump,
they hired
Trump campaign? All this is coming out, and this a little bit of vetting would have taken care of that. So they didn't do any vetting. So obviously they got this guy who's apparently dirty as all get out, running a campaign for a presidential race. So that's strange to me.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
point.
there was a time when we had a particular company in this city, and when they collapsed, people would say, "Don't get any Enron on
Right.
you." You know, Nyanza, your thoughts about either of these issues?
I think that, it's unfortunate what's happening to the GOP. We're seeing a lot of them go to prison, and a lot of them are being indicted, and it's unfortunate because the people that support their party are left in a position where they have to say, well, we're just doing the best we can. That was just a bad apple. That has nothing to do with the president. Eventually, I believe that maybe it's not the Democrats, it's Mueller. Mueller is now tired of all of this. You want to play the game, and the closer we get to November, the closer we're getting to the dominoes falling to that last one. And I cannot wait to be there the week before the election. I'm going to be glued to the TV.
10 seconds.
You know, the bottom line is the president is winning elections. We saw that in special election this week in Ohio, and we're seeing that in elections across the country. And his policies are winning.
But
Okay,
it
gonna leave
should
it
have been
there.
a slaughter in Ohio.
After the break, in the wake of Harvey, a $2.5 billion ask of local taxpayers, are Houstonians willing to bite the bullet for flood protection? Stick around.